Hey, what's up, listener? Thank you for clicking play on this special bonus extra midweek episode of the Jock and Nerd podcast.
Geek Boner.
We could not wait until our normal recording day to discuss the series finale of Game of Thrones. You're going to get our full spoiler thoughts on episode 6 of the 8th and final season. Did it stick the landing for us? You'll find out in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Monday, May 20th, 2019.
Hi, this is James Faulkner. Are you looking for an enjoyable podcast? Well, look no further. Visit jockandnerd.com and subscribe to the Jock and Nerd podcast today. It's also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Yeah, go and find it.
Check one. All right. This is really fans out there. Let's give it up. Be talking, be nerded. Be funny, disturbing. Be talking, be nerded. Spoiler alert. Oh yeah. Be talking, be nerded. Be funny, disturbing. Oh yeah. I'm talking, be nerded. Spoiler alert.
Oh, hello, listener. How's it going? Thanks for joining us, and welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast, delivering comic book and superhero TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose.
Jock and Nerd.
My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
And joining us is a guy who sings the song of ice and fire whenever he eats spicy Indian food. Of course, it's Ruggs the Floppy. What's up, Rug Boy?
That made me laugh. Man.
Yeah, you like that one?
I like that intro.
I like that. That was solid.
It made me smile.
On theme, on topic. Listener, we are bringing you an extra episode this week because, you know, only the biggest show in the world just aired probably the most anticipated television series finale in TV history.
Geek Boner.
Of course, I'm talking about The Big Bang Theory finally ended. No, I'm sorry. That's not.
Did that end recently?
Yeah, that just ended also after like 13 years and them getting paid $1 million fucking an episode. Never watched it. I've caught the reruns.
I watched a few seasons and I was like, I like it, but whatever.
I don't know how it ended.
It's a sitcom.
Yeah, it's fine. That's good. You're done.
You've seen them all.
Exactly.
Why are we talking about the Big Bang?
I don't know. We're not here to review the Big Bang Theory finale. We are here to review the series finale of Game of Thrones. Let's get to it.
The Jock and Nerd podcast.
And
this is the bonus emergency Game of Thrones.
This is the
review.
bonus emergency extra episode this week for our subscribers and listeners. That's why you got to subscribe.
You're getting 3 this week because you got this one,
Yep,
spinoff, and then our
and we will we'll get back to the news. And for the last time, here is Vladimir Furdik, otherwise known
birds.
as the Night King, and the birds.
Hey everybody, how are you? What's up? Vladimir Furdik, the Night King of Game of Thrones here. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the Jock and Nerd. Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 6. Enjoy the last season, because this will be one of the best seasons ever.
Is it, Vlad? Is it? We will decide.
I don't mean to put Anthony on the spot here, but could you do a little Night King doing the intro here?
One
You're
last
doing
time,
impressions.
Hello, this is Vladimir Furdik. You're the Night King, and you're listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the best season ever.
That's really amazing.
You put me on the spot with that. I didn't even...
Right? Well
I
done.
always was wondering, what would Anthony sound like if he did that?
That's what the Jock would sound like if he was the Night King.
Did it sound like him?
Yes, you're a very good parrot, Anthony. If anything, you have like a mutant ability
Yes.
to mimic. Here's your spoiler alert.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
All right. Well, we finally made it. These past 6 weeks have been fucking bonkers and very entertaining and enjoyable. The season 8, episode 6 series finale of Game of Thrones titled The Iron Throne. From The Hollywood Reporter, this Game of Thrones finale drew 13.6 million viewers for its initial airing, adding in the replays, early streaming, rewatches, That figure climbs to 19.3 million viewers.
Oh, shit.
This is not only a record just for Game of Thrones, it is a record for HBO's entire history of programming.
Holy shit.
So they kept breaking the record. They broke the record last week. It was like 18.4, and they broke that record
There's
this
a lot
week.
of people. They got a really awesome rating.
Almost, imagine that, 20 million people. I wonder how many of them signed this petition to redo it.
Do we have a update on the petition?
I don't even want to look. It was up to 1 million. It's probably more now. I don't even want to look it up because it's just dumb. But look, let's just get into series finale with quick opening thoughts. Basically, recap. Jon kills Daenerys, Drogo destroys the Iron Throne, and Bran is now the ruler of Westeros. Oh shit. Crazy shit.
That's
Anthony.
the outcome. Yeah.
Anthony, tell me, in your opinion, where did this episode land between this
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
or the internet, which is this?
Why are you putting people through this?
Where did it land in that spectrum for you?
I'd say right in the middle.
Yeah.
I've been a big proponent of let's just see how this all plays out. Let's see how it all plays out. I was completely fine with last week's episode, and for the most part, other than the Winterfell, though the battle at Winterfell, I've been okay with everything, really. I can safely say now that I feel like the season was rushed.
Yeah.
I definitely think 8 to 10 episodes. I think 10 episodes would have been ideal for this. There is a feeling of them just running through things really quickly. Everything on paper for me makes sense.
Sure.
You know, Bran, if you want to make a king that's someone that's fair and all-knowing and not partial to anyone, Bran is the perfect choice.
Yeah.
But why, if Bran was a perfect choice, why did they make him the most boring character the past 3 seasons?
Or yes.
We'll have the most boring king we can find.
Yes.
Right. So like that didn't make sense.
Well, they needed someone that came with a chair because they were going to destroy the throne.
Yeah, you don't
He's
need a throne.
He's the only one who comes. He comes with his own
He comes
throne.
with his
That's
own
true. He
throne.
does
Yes.
come with his own
Got
throne.
wheels. You can push him around anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I can get into the details in a little bit later, but you know, Dany's death and all that.
Yeah.
It definitely felt rushed. It's all the right stuff on paper. It just all felt a little rushed.
Can I just say one thing, though?
Yeah.
If you take all of the actual screen time, it is 10 episodes worth of screen time.
Is it?
Because of the extended run times?
Because all of the episodes are like an hour and...
No, I only think the last 3 were an hour and a half.
Yeah, but there may be short 15 minutes. So that 15 minutes that we're not getting out of the 10 episodes...
ends up into 10 hours is
Does
what you're
it?
saying.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it's like 9 hours. I think it's like 9 hours or
So
something.
if you run, wow, it's close. So, wow, it's interesting.
Well,
it's close
I
to
still
10
think
episodes.
I still
Yeah.
think it was rushed.
Yeah.
Whether it be 10 or maybe they needed 10 last season and 10 this season, who knows? And maybe, you know, they needed 10 with them being an hour and a half even.
Yeah.
But they needed more time, in my opinion. So overall, you know, not the grand slam home run that we were all expecting, in my
Sure.
opinion, but the internet just needs to stop.
Can't have
This
nice
is
things.
still one of the greatest series I've ever seen. This is still amazing television. Frankly, if I would have binged all of this and not caught up and then watched this one week to week, I'm almost 100% sure I would have enjoyed this season just as much as the other seasons.
Yeah.
I do think the week-to-week outrage kind of affected my viewing of this.
Yeah.
I started being like questioning if I like things and wanting to just like defend the show, which is like not a weird, it was a weird position. So overall, it was okay. And I'm interested to see what you guys think because I didn't listen to your review because I didn't want to taint what I was going to say.
Sure.
You don't want to see my taint?
You don't want to see Ruggs, show us your taint now. Opening thoughts on the scale of disappointing to satisfying.
Well,
where'd you end up after this was over?
I am okay with how it ended. I don't love it. I think that it is the weakest season of all the seasons, of course. I think that the writing was a little bit dubious and kind of like out of focus. They kind of like dropped a bunch of stuff that they develop and they drop. It's like they do all this stuff and then they just kind of like forget about it.
Smells a little bit of Lost, which got me worried.
Yeah, so there's tinges of that, but I am not going to sign a petition.
No.
I am not going to ask them to redo it. I am like, okay, this is what they wanted to do. I don't really agree with it. I think I probably, in my mind, have a way better outcome of this season that could have happened. But, everybody thinks that in their mind, so I'm not like special in that thinking, but there's some people who are on board with it and like it. So I think it's split down the middle between the fandom, and that's how I am a little bit. I'm split down the middle with it. I think you see that this show is the pinnacle of TV. It really is. I mean, even though it had one bad season, it had 7 great ones. Where Breaking Bad is the other, shining star of, perfect television. It only had, how many seasons? Like 5? Yeah.
But they were consistent.
Yeah. So, and they had more episodes, I think, overall.
Probably, yeah.
So it's kind of like, I'm kind of like in the middle. I'm like, it's meh to me. It's like, I feel like I wanted it to be outstanding because the show is outstanding at times. There's times where I was watching Game of Thrones and I was like, there can't be, I didn't even said this to you guys. There's no better TV ever made than what's been on Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
So, I really had high expectations, not because of some bullshit that I had in my mind, just what they've previously done. I was like, I want them to reach that same level. And it was kind of below that level this season. So,
and there's many reasons things you can point to.
I would agree.
Why that happened?
It didn't hit their previous peaks, which it's disappointing, but it doesn't ruin the show.
No.
And so my opening thoughts are exactly that. It's a lot. I echo the same thing. I'm both mildly satisfied and mildly disappointed. While I appreciate a conclusive ending of character arcs and a definitive kind of finish, it wasn't a non-ending like The Sopranos. It's just frustrating. We were given the fucking cliff notes to the end of the story by Benioff and Weiss because the story was there. The storytelling got lacking in this last season, but it's still, again, I was really happy to watch this week to week to experience this live. Shout out to Ray O'Neill, by the way, who probably caught up at the last possible moment, took 7 weeks while this season was airing to binge all of it and watch the finale live. I wonder what that's like. That's got to be crazy.
But he had a better time watching it.
I think he did too, because while it was entertaining to watch these Game of Thrones reactions, it kind of fucking ruins the show for you because you can't just, you
have to immediately take a side, which is a dumb thing to have to do.
It was it reminded me of The Matrix Revolutions. After I saw that movie, I was like, okay. And then after a few weeks of hearing people talking about it, I started to hate that movie.
Yeah.
And then I got that was I think the first time in fandom of movie going where I was like, I wish there was a different movie that I saw.
I mean, I remember that too, and I kind of agree. I originally loved those trilogies, but then when you go think about the last one, and
I agree with. I didn't see Matrix Revolutions, but I do agree with that being the case for this. It definitely almost it didn't ruin my fandom for the show, but it made me really sour on just this whole. Just the instant reaction to watching one episode at a time.
The world we live in now. That's what happens.
I didn't like the fact that it was just so outrage over every episode.
Well, look, they created this problem because number one, they waited so long between seasons that anticipation. So now you had what you had is
you have 2 years of theories, 2 years of people coming up with their own shit and figuring out how it should end in their head,
and then they truncated it.
Yes,
that's true.
And then they leave coffee cups and water bottles in the fucking shots.
Okay, I mean those things are funny, but at the end of the day, if it is funny. Okay, so it's funny to point those out, but at the end of the day, if you're the jamoke looking for those things, I don't want to discuss the Game of Thrones with you because you're just looking for stuff to find to be.
That's just
wrong.
A way you could justify that. The show's gotten shitty, and this is my exhibit A and B.
Yes. Look, see, they left this in.
Yeah, I was seeing social media posts where it was they'd circle the water bottle and be like, "Do they even care?" I'm like, "Okay, they made a mistake, but this isn't indicative of their effort put into the show."
Right. I don't think they intentionally did that.
I mean, they broke their backs trying to film this shit.
Aside from the storytelling, the performances, the costumes, the set design, the direction, the cinematography, the music. Top notch throughout all 8 seasons. Some of the best you will see on TV.
I mean, let me point out one cinematic shot. I mean, the shot of Dany, where she lands and then the dragon wings spark up behind her. It was fucking beautiful.
That's one of the best shots that will be in your brain for the rest of your life.
one of the best shots in the show's history. Let's just get into the episode, starting with the opening credits, because they did change it. They changed it again. This time, when you fly through Winterfell, it's all broken.
Oh, okay. So that's the case.
Not only that, at the very beginning, the Astro Lab, when they highlight the stuff that's on the lab, I think the very first thing they showed was Dany destroying King's Landing on the metal. And then at the end, King's Landing's busted, but when you get to where you get to the throne, above it, behind it, there was usually a window with a circle with like the Lannister sigil in the circle. This time, the window was there, the circle was there, and the circle was empty.
That's right.
There was nothing in there. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It starts right where we left off after the bells, and Arya, not dead. She hung up, came back. I don't know what the point of that horse was.
There was no point.
But she's just
one
there.
of those things that they give you, and then they just kind of.
Well, I think for that one, people read into that.
That she left and came back.
She left on a white horse. People are like, oh, that's death. It wasn't. It was nothing.
Yeah, and it starts out,
that's not one of the more. There's some very egregious stuff that we can get into that they left untied.
You have Jon stumbling on the fact that the Unsullied are killing the Lannister prisoner soldiers, and he's not happy. And he's
Great moment, actually. I was hoping for a Jon Snow Grey Worm showdown.
They're going to throw down for a second, and Jon's like, I'm going to go talk to management. I don't agree with these policies. And then amazingly emotional performance by Peter Dinklage as Tyrion goes down and picks up the rubble and sees his twin sister, brother, his siblings, his body's there. I thought that was really emotional. But people on the internet have pointed out, had they been standing just a few feet to the left, they'd still be alive. So, whatever.
Yeah.
This is what the internet does. It fucking brings these things up in my head. Why do I have to see these things? Pick out these plot holes. And then you get to Daenerys' speech, which is very much like a dictator speech, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
She
is as a villain. As the villain she's become, she is correct in her own mind.
Yeah, everything she thinks she's doing is right, and she even says the war isn't over. We are going to free the rest of the planet. And you're like, holy fuck. And then I love Tyrion walking up to her and that whole conversation where she's like, you freed your brother. And he's like, you slaughtered a city. And then just takes out his and throws it on the steps, much like what many people are doing with their HBO subscriptions right now. Fucking, I'm done with this shit. And she puts him under arrest. And then
she doesn't kill him.
She doesn't kill him right there. I half expected her to Dracarys him right there.
If she's the Mad Queen, wouldn't she be mad and do mad, crazy things?
That's very level-headed.
She just killed everybody that lived. And
now she's level-headed.
Yeah, I don't know why she didn't kill him there.
Little inconsistent.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then you get to the first part of Tyrion convincing people really easily to do things.
Yeah.
He does that a lot this episode. Jon goes to visit Tyrion. And Tyrion is like, look, you will always do the right thing. Protect the people. Who is the greatest threat to the people now? He's like, she's going to kill me. She's going to kill you unless you take her out first. And he's not going to do it.
Well, Jon actually had like a little bit of conflict. He was trying to almost justify her position in his own mind, which I mean, I kind of understood it. But then at the end of the day, I was like, Jon, you know better.
Yeah.
Like you really know better. So that one kind of was like a little strange, but I enjoyed their conversation. I enjoyed the dialogue.
Right.
And only when he mentions the sisters does Jon actually
He's like, oh, shit.
Start to break down.
They're not going to bend a knee.
And
duty is the death of love, and love is the death of duty.
That's a great line. Yeah, great callbacks to earlier episodes. And so then Jon's like, all right, let me go talk to her. And I love that scene where Drogon's there under the snow out of nowhere. That was crazy.
Lets him in.
He's like, let me smell you.
Yeah, he's like, you're okay. And now this is snow, right? What do you guys think? This isn't ash anymore.
No, it's ash.
No, it's fucking snow.
It's ash.
That's not ash.
It's ash.
It can't still be ash.
It's ash.
It's white. It's piling up. Winter has come.
No, I think it's ash, man.
Fuck.
I'm pretty sure.
I was
positive
confused.
it's ash.
I'm like, it's got to be snowing now. How is this still fucking ash? How did it build up so much? It looks like snow. Anyways, snow, ash.
It's a weird thing to be caught up with.
I couldn't tell either. To be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm pretty sure it was ash, but neither here nor there.
Yeah. So then he
It
finally
doesn't really change anything.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's just a little nitpicky thing. He finally gets to Dany, and this is an amazing conversation where Daenerys is there, and she doesn't even get to sit on the throne. She's just touching it, looking at it. Finally here.
This is the point where you see her side, which is she definitely thinks she's in the right.
Yeah.
And that she's a liberator, and this was the way to liberate.
Because Jon rolls up and goes, what the fuck did
Well, I can tell you what her game plan was.
Yeah.
Is that she, and she's like, okay, listen, I got to rule by fear. So if I fucking take all of these people out, no one's going to not bend the knee because they'll think I'm fucking crazy.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think she was crazy. I just think she did a crazy thing.
Yeah.
So she could easily mow the rest of people down. I think in her mind, she says, I'm going to kill this whole city.
To set an
I don't
example.
have to, so I don't have to kill the other cities.
Sure.
That's
sure.
a good point.
So they'll just bend the knee.
Yeah, because I was at first I was going to disagree with you, but once you said she killed this city so she doesn't have to do it with other cities, then I'm like, okay, I'll come around on
And
that.
if they would have, and if she would have said that, but she doesn't really say that, really.
Well, it goes back to the line from the other episode about mercy and how we are giving mercy to future generations by killing all these people now.
Yeah, I looked at it as she decided that these people weren't ever going to follow her, so she had to kill them because she disagreed with the fact that they didn't rebel against the Lannisters once they knew she was there.
Right.
So then she killed these people, and she's going to go out and give mercy to everyone else. Almost,
Yeah.
in her mind, she's again the hero of her own story. So she's going to go out and be that benevolent ruler that she thinks she is.
I also don't think she's done fucking killing people.
No, she's
though.
not done killing people.
No.
She's always going to have that rage of like, oh, you didn't bend the knee. Like she's the type of person where she's always the hero in her story. So
yeah.
she's if you legitimately think you're fighting on the side of good, then anyone that crosses you is automatically evil.
Which is a self-delusional megalomaniac dictator style leadership.
Right.
Right.
Well, we're talking about this like, okay, that this is what the writers want you to believe now that she made this turn.
The fact that it's unclear means it was a little shoddy.
It was
Yeah.
a little shoddy. Now
Like, we're like writing it better than they did.
a little bit, yes.
in
We're
this, in
putting
just talking about
a
it.
lot
Like,
more subtext in
like,
it.
yeah, we're like, okay, she has a plan. She knows that if she scares the shit out of everybody, they'll all fall in line, and then she can actually do what she intended to do.
You know.
And she doesn't explain that because the writers are like,
There's no time.
She's crazy because her dad's crazy. And that's
Well, what I wish would have happened, because the last episode I was like, okay, she went full Mad Queen. Now keep her that way.
Yes.
When she talks to John, at the beginning of the episode, she gives John a dirty look. I'm like, oh fuck, she's Mad Queen.
Yeah.
And she talks to Tyrion, and she's full Mad Queen.
Yeah.
But then she talks to John, and she's back to being like, we can do this together.
Yes.
We can, just me and you.
Turns into a romance novel a little bit.
She becomes romantic about it, and I'm like, but everyone is saying that she's going to look at you as the same, like a potential threat as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was a little uneven there.
now. So anyway, she gets killed.
Well,
right?
okay, so let me ask you this. Did you feel that John went in there already deciding
Yes.
to kill her?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Okay.
John knew the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
He had to.
John, it's in that sense, it is like a good part for John because, like Jamie,
Yeah.
he is now forever known as a Queen Slayer.
Yeah. He's the Queen Slayer.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
he is also someone that could be looked down upon as being an evil person, even though he did something noble for the realm.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So I like that.
I need to take the sidebar. Now that we're up to Dany's death.
Yes.
And Jon Snow.
I mean, this is the biggest moment in the series, so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what happens to Jon Snow is, the dragon comes and he doesn't kill Jon.
I love this part.
Burns
This part,
the iron
yeah.
and melts the Iron Throne, and then
Yes.
Very symbolic.
picks
Yes.
Dany up. He's like, okay, this is the reason for all of this problems.
Yes.
The dragon knows more than everybody else. He melts down the throne, takes Daenerys, and goes away.
And that's it.
Okay, so now let me just get into this, and I'm sorry that I'm going to talk for about 2 or 3 minutes.
Do it.
But
You know what? Look, let me give you this.
here's the rundown. All right, so besides the fact that there's no reason up until she decides to kill those people for anyone to dislike Dany, and they just wrote it. They dislike her because she came in and helped everybody at Winterfell. Yara even said she saved all of us.
Yeah, Yara was
and she
still
was
on
still
her
loyal
side.
to her.
Yep.
All right. They engineered this kind of thing where everybody hates Dany, but there's no real reason to, other than Sansa just being a bitch and not liking who her brother's dating. And so that's an engineered thing that's not really real. She's actually she came in, she had good intentions the whole time. You know, Jon Snow went there, didn't bend the knee, and then bent the knee, and she came up and saved his ass when he was looking for the zombie or whatever. So she she wasn't like whatever and being like an evil person. They just branded her with that, and then they stuck with it. Okay. Then the second thing that they did was they made this thing where if anybody finds out that Jon Snow is really the true king, everyone's going to rally to him and want him to be king. All right. So this is the postmortem. So like Varys sends out all of these birds with messages to everyone. Tyrion knows, everybody knows, Sansa knows that he's the rightful king. So the word's spreading out like wildfire all over the kingdoms that Jon is the true king. Does anybody come, even after the dragon goes away, to go and proclaim Jon the king and fight off the Unsullied? Nobody shows up. Nobody rolls up. Like, that would have been that. I think that was what I was thinking was going to happen. I'm like, well, Varys alerted everybody. Jon kills Daenerys. The dragon's gone. All that's left is the Unsullied that's standing in the way. They could come in and go, we want Jon Snow to be king. And that doesn't happen. Nobody even pipes up until this little meeting that they have where they kind of just sit around like, what are we going to do next? And then, and Tyrion, like that whole thing that they were discussing, Varys and him were discussing that, oh, everyone's going to want Jon Snow to be king. Yeah. Nobody did that. There was nothing. So basically that whole threat that they built Jon Snow up to be to Daenerys was actually nothing.
So Sansa does mention that there's Northmen guards outside, and they wanted Jon, and that's the reason he had to make that compromise. But to your point, Ruggs, you're absolutely right. It kind of didn't matter at all that he was actually Aegon Targaryen, did it?
No. Doesn't matter at all. I think that's the biggest problem with the finale.
Or is that the point of that? It not mattering is that it doesn't matter that you're a Targaryen.
I think I agree with Ruggs' point in that, and I didn't think about it like that, but they did just kind of drop it.
Yeah.
They haphazardly handled it by doing this. What they did was they had Jon, when he was talking to Tyrion, he basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically says, just because my last name is this, it doesn't mean I'm who I am.
Right. Our house names
don't matter.
Right.
Like it shouldn't define our fate.
Yeah.
So in a roundabout way, I agree with you, Ruggs, that they dropped it.
Yeah, but it's not Jon Snow's choice to what everybody else thinks.
I know. What I'm saying is, whether he's Aegon Targaryen or Jon Snow or Jon Stark, that never mattered to him. What mattered to him was just doing the right thing.
Yeah, and that's true to his character. So
right.
I'm not debating that. I'm just debating that this whole idea, this whole thing, the whole conflict between Daenerys and Jon is engineered. It's not real because it never ever manifests into anything. It's a completely empty. It's a straw man argument.
However, think about who kind of engineered this, and you kind of see Bran setting this up to protect the Stark kids and the Stark legacy by putting all these pieces into place and getting them to fight the Night King and getting Arya to kill him and decimating those troops. Everything, the Starks win. The Starks ultimately are the winners when we get to the end. And if Bran was putting all these chess pieces in motion.
No, Ruggs makes a good point. I didn't even realize really that they just dropped that, but they did.
They did.
The Varys stuff, I thought that would have it didn't lead to anything.
No.
There was no revolution. The only allusion they made to it is that the North likes Jon Snow, which didn't.
Well, we knew that.
We knew that before he was Aegon Targaryen.
Yeah,
so
that
didn't
there's nothing
change.
new about that.
And that makes sense that the North would be like, if you kill him, we will kill you.
So they engineered these two things. They engineered that everybody hates Daenerys, even though she did heroic things and helped everybody to be alive.
Yeah.
And so that hate is like completely fabricated.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say there is a little hate because she is the daughter of the Mad King.
Right. So there's some of that.
She's
but,
a
like,
foreigner. She doesn't really know the people there. She doesn't want to like understand
but
the
if
people
you have
there.
Cersei Lannister as your queen,
Yeah, what's about? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
kind of
you're going to roll the dice, aren't you?
It's kind of the same. I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know,
I don't
yeah.
know if one's better. I don't know.
So I think that those two things were engineered by writers, and so when you do
Yes,
something that's
yes.
not true to the actual characters,
Yes.
or it doesn't have any impact, or doesn't even ring true, and you drop it,
Yeah,
it's hollow.
yeah.
And that's where I feel about this season. It's hollow. It's everything's been like they've engineered all these things. They've engineered Arya to have powers.
Yeah.
And like she can become anybody. They never use it this season.
I know. I wish she fucking changed her face and did something.
They have Bran who can do things and warg into things. They never use it
They didn't
at
do
all.
anything.
And so basically he's a lump of shit this whole season, and he ends up being king. So it's like there is a hollowness to what's going on. But
It's been frustrating that these character moments don't feel earned because they've been just cutting to these things and not letting it organically develop.
just talk about the meeting of all of the people.
Okay, here, let's get to that. So after,
but Danny's death, was that satisfying for everybody?
I mean,
it happened as it should have.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very simplified and very easy and quickly done. He just like a snap decision. Next thing he does.
Yeah.
Like, he went from fighting for her to like immediately killing her on like the same day. He didn't even sleep on it. He just like had a conversation with Tyrion. It's like, it just seems like if Tyrion talks to you, you just do what he says. So then Tyrion shows up at this meeting.
Yeah. Dude,
where all of it, like they've pushed forward in time.
So when he killed her, for me, it kind of did catch me off guard because when they started making out, initially I was like, oh, fuck, he's going back to her. Really? They're doing this? And then you hear shank. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, I see what's going on. And would have been nice maybe if she said something, but she didn't.
I think a lot of the the reasons you brought up there are good points. I also think that they didn't really dive enough into their romance enough for you to be like, man, Jon is really conflicted here with what's going on.
I never got the sense that he truly loved Daenerys like he loved Ygritte.
Right. Yeah. Ygritte had a lot better chemistry.
These people had no chemistry, really. I'm surprised. They're both great actors.
In season 7, they were okay together. Like I was cheering when they were hooking up.
But they had just met. Like, they really haven't been together that long. Like, they literally just met. They were together.
I think it was more the fact that I could accept that they both saw each other. Yeah, no, I could accept that they both saw each other and were like, that's a fucking good person. I'm going to fight for them.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to accept the conflict after that, though.
He says he loved her, just like Tyrion's like, I loved her with all my heart also, but
that's another thing that I don't get about this characterization of Dany, because why would Dany be attracted to such a good and good-hearted person?
Right.
If she was so crazy and so evil, like everybody's painting her to be.
She needs another Khal Drogo. That's her
Like,
more her speed.
Yeah. Or even somebody more ruthless, like fucking, like any of these other characters.
Remember, she was fucking what's
Dario
that?
Naharis,
Yeah, what happened to him? She left him in Marine.
She left him she left him to guard Marine.
I'm out.
All right, so we get to the council.
So they kill Jon kills Dany. Boom, cut to black, and we do get a time jump.
Like a 2-week jump, maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah, a few weeks. And I was kind of anticipating a time jump, but I thought it would have been great if the time jump happened with Dany on the throne still. And then you see what happens with her rule. Nope, she's dead. They're moving on. Jon and Tyrion still in prison. Their beards are growing long. And there's another meeting like they had in season 7 when they brought them the White Walkers with the council, small council of Westeros. And again, Tyrion, an imp, a Lannister, a prisoner, just convinces everyone. Listen, 8 seasons they've been trying to figure out who's going to get the throne. They figure it out in 5 fucking minutes.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's like,
these people have been killing each other, warring over these things. They're the last of the surviving people. They have all the power. And then Tyrion's like, hey, we're not going to have let's figure out who's going to be the king. And everybody's like, all right, you pick.
I do love that I like Uncle Tully standing up and then Sansa going, Uncle, sit down.
That was funny. That verbal beatdown was funny.
Yes.
I agree. I mean, Tyrion does give a good speech.
He's great.
I'll give him that. He gives a good speech. I'm like, by the end of that, I'm going, Bran the Broken. That's the king.
But
then when you think about it, I'm like, why did they even bring Tyrion out? What reason does he have to be out there?
To tell him who to be king, who should be king.
But why? What is he called? He was a terrible hand of the king.
Oh yeah,
hand of the queen.
He was instrumental in this happening.
He quit. He betrayed his queen.
Yes.
He has the Lannisters are dead. Why bring him back out?
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
not made one good decision in like 2 seasons.
Right.
Everything he's done
I mean,
is
the-
He
fucked
went
up.
back and saved his sister. Tried to save his sister.
Nothing worked.
I mean, the only reason that they brought him back out is so that Bran can go, he's made a lifetime of mistakes. He's now going to fix all
Well, he
of them.
points him as king of the hand. He
Right.
doesn't want it. He's like, this is how you're going to repay. I do love a couple of the great moments, like when Sam suggests democracy and everyone just laughs at him.
Yeah.
That was pretty
I
funny.
enjoyed that because I thought they were going to say they were going to do the full democracy thing, and then that was a nice little subvert right
They're
there.
They'll be like, no, we're not doing that.
What do you mean? You want to give the horse a
Does
vote?
my
The
dog
fuck
get a
is
vote?
wrong with you?
So
I
good.
thought that was funny.
So some of the arguments,
Also,
Tyrion,
breastfeeding boy is now grown up and a heartthrob now.
it's a big meme. Robin Aaron, Lord Robin Aaron is like he's not that hot. He still looks like a little fucking schmuck.
He
looks like a Jonas
He
brother.
looks like Balky Bartakabas.
He does look like Bronson Pinchot.
Hey,
Yes.
Jonas brother is
They're
married
hot.
to Sansa Stark.
I know. They Sophie Turner married Jonas brother in Vegas with an Elvis impersonator officiating, like on the spur of a drop of a hat.
I did like
wedding.
that Yara, because I totally forgot that Yara would be on her
See?
side.
I knew it. She's still Team Danny.
That made sense.
I figured it would be cool to have like a female person on the throne.
Yeah.
Because it's always been men, and they could be something different. And we're like, all right, now we have a cripple on the throne. I guess it's a little different.
I did see a funny meme on
The memes have
Facebook or
been
something
great.
where they were like, so the best they could come up with was electing a kid with brain damage to be on the phone.
Also,
on the throne.
Sansa's like, by the way, his dick don't work. I don't know what you're going to do, but that is kind of the genius of Tyrion's argument is he can't have kids. Good. We've seen how that works out. From now on, a king will be chosen.
No, everything Tyrion says makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Bran would be he's unbiased.
Yeah.
He won't have kids, so there's no lineage. There's no stupid lineage now on the throne.
Yeah.
He's all knowing. He's all seeing. He's a good candidate to be on the throne, and he breaks the wheel, so to speak. It just doesn't make sense that Tyrion would be out there with his opinion.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Sansa wanting to remain independent and Bran kind of letting her, and she was Queen of the North?
And no one else was like, hey, I want to do that too.
Yeah, why can't we do that? There's now 6 kingdoms that he's ruling, not 7.
It's like, I don't want to be ruled by you, Bran. Like,
No, it's nepotism. He's like, bro, that's my sister. She could do what she wants.
I think it's perfect for the North. The North has always wanted to be independent. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Sansa that's a good arc for her to be like strong and stay like true to wanting to be the ruler of the North.
Right.
I do agree with everyone else being like, okay, well, we still
there was
want
a
to
lot
be
of agreeable people.
Well, yes.
First of all, they're like, okay, no more kings unless we by birth. They're like, all right, I guess my kid's not going to be king. All right, that sucks, but I'll
This is
do
what
it.
I don't understand. The Unsullied and the Dothraki, who are staunch Team Danny, they would do anything. They just all of a sudden, they're like, okay, this kid in the chair with the wheels is king now. We follow him. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you're just
We're
gonna
gonna go.
like
we're
that?
gonna fuck off now. We're gonna get in boats and go
Yeah,
away.
we're gonna go. Well, the Unsullied went to Noth, where Missandei was from, to free them, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Dothraki are doing.
I don't know what the Dothraki are doing, but the Unsullied thing, it was a bit of a compromise. I know that the way I interpret it is that Dany's gone.
Yeah.
They don't really have a ruler.
No.
So they're kind of like just flying by the seat of their pants, and they're not really in their homeland. So they're like they're not like the Dothraki where they're mindless killers.
Yeah.
They're like, this isn't our land, but we hate this motherfucker. Let's come up with an amicable solution so we don't have to fight wars.
Davos gave him that offer. Maybe the Dothraki took he's like, you could take this land, go live up there, do whatever you want.
He was
Maybe
like,
some of
we
them
don't
went.
want payment.
No, yeah. He's like, we just want to fight for our queen.
blood.
Yeah.
They want to fight for
Like
something.
kill. And that's what the Dothraki like.
The thing what Tyrion says is that Bran's got the best story.
Yes. Does he
He
really,
doesn't.
though? Does he
Arya's
really?
got the best story.
So I will say
Or Arya. Hold on.
Arya's where she ended up. I think Arya has probably one of the most satisfying story arcs throughout the whole show, and where it ends up her wanting to explore west of Westeros.
I wish that it would have at least alluded to that in one episode where she says, maybe one day I'll go around the world.
She does.
Yeah, does
Very
she?
early on, she asks about west of Westeros in like the first or second season.
Well,
really?
Yes.
I disagree. I think her arc is fine. I don't think it's the best because I agree with Ruggs. I didn't get this explorer vibe out
From
of
her?
No.
All of a sudden,
I like that she turned and like is not a one track killer.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the vibe that she wanted to now explore west of Westeros.
I kind of wanted
and
to
become. You think she becomes Christopher Columbus?
Arya the
and
explorer
discovers America.
Yeah, does she end up bringing smallpox into the New World?
Since she kind of looks like a boy, maybe she is really just Christopher Columbus.
That's who Columbus was?
She changes her name.
I wanted to sail off with her into her own spin-off show where she has all these adventures exploring west of Westeros and making a map or whatever. That'd have been great. Sansa is Queen of the North, and the decision with Jon, I kind of understand this. Tyrion explains, if we give you to the Unsullied, which is what they wanted to kill him because he killed their queen, there's going to be a war. If we give you to the Northmen, there's going to be a war. You are going back to the Night's Watch. And he said exactly what I thought. There's still a Night's fucking watch?
Yeah, what are they watching?
What are they watching?
Can I try to explain that?
Yeah.
So I think Bran knows there is no Night's Watch. It was his backdoor way of going, get the fuck out of here
and live your life.
Go live your life
I believe
with the
that too.
wildlings.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that was a little bit of a ruse.
Yeah, it was a ruse.
That last shot is great because you see him go past the wall, you see him head north, and you see one little blade of grass sticking up, suggesting that spring and summer is coming. And he kind of ends where he starts.
And it's also poetic because Jon has never given a fuck. I mean, he cares about his family, but he's never let his house names define him, and he can finally go somewhere where his house name will not define him.
And I think he feels more himself in that environment with those people. That's always what he wanted. And full circle, the very first shot of the show is them going into the haunted forest beyond the wall, and the very last shot in the show is them going into that same forest.
Are we not going to talk about
what's next? Where do you want to go?
Well, there's two other things. There's Brienne writing in the book about Jaime, and then there's the small council meeting, which I enjoyed. I
like Brienne finishing his story.
I wish he would have written in there that she was that he knighted her.
Yeah, she should have written
that
in
way
that
she could be in the book.
The first female knight, maybe. She's like, and now Brienne, I'm Brianna Tarth, the first female knight of Westeros.
Did you see what some of the feminist outrage out there?
Oh yeah.
What was it? It was going. Her ending is that she's writing the story for another man. This is why women should be writing this show, or this is why men shouldn't be writing women's roles in these shows.
She's mansplaining for Jaime.
Right.
Back to the book.
I didn't see it like that. I saw him honoring this guy that they had a great relationship with.
And so, because in the book it ends with him being the Kingslayer, and she's trying to redeem his reputation and put it in history.
I like that though.
I did like that.
I just wish that she would have put a line in about herself.
Someone else will write her story.
Yeah.
And she's been like, and he popped my cherry. Ding.
I mean, she gets she's now the commander of the Kingsguard. So she has a great moment.
Yeah, let's get to the new small council where, just like you said, Brienne is the commander of the Kingsguard. Samuel is now the Grand Meister. What he was studying for makes a lot of sense. He's got the white robe.
Jägermeister.
He's the Jägermeister, just like Aegon. Davos, master of ships, and Bronn is master of coin. Wants to build brothels. I find it hard to believe that he fucking Tyrion gave him Highgarden. Bronn got a sweet deal out of all this. He covered both ends.
Bronn made out like a bandit.
He made out like a bandit.
I mean, I liked all the picks. Bronn, especially him and Tyrion, are now at the same. They're not. It comes full circle for them. They're about now looking at each other as equals, and not
I like
as
that
one
they're not all
other.
like these fucking highfalutin dudes. They're like Davos. He's a dude, a pirate basically. You know?
They're very blue collar, and you kind of get a great, as they pull back the conversation, that just like the mundane parts of rebuilding an empire out of ashes.
There was only one thing I was a little. There was only one thing. Sorry, that I was like a little confused with.
Let me guess. It's the book.
No, the book. The book was just kind of cheesy.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't need to put that in there.
Bran goes, we still need a master of war.
Yes, and a master of whisperers.
So the master of war makes sense. They still need one of those.
Yeah.
Why do they need a master of whisperers?
I thought Bran can whisper to
see everything.
Yes, he knows. Does he know the future though? It never clear.
So I interpreted it. There's a lot of people going that he knows the future. I don't think he knows the future. I think he just knew at that moment that they were going to decide on their next king, and he had to be there.
This is my prediction of every single king's council.
Yeah.
Is like you have Tyrion going, yeah, we need to do this. There's people starving in Davos or whatever, in Bravos. And he just goes, everything is as it should be. And that's the end of the meeting.
That's all Bran said this whole time. Yeah. He goes, I was supposed to do this the whole time.
He's like, everything's going like it's supposed to.
Even at the meeting, they're like, hey, we're going to do this and this. And Bran's like, I'm going to walk off, find the dragon. You guys do whatever you want. It's fine.
I mean,
Fuck
he's not
it.
going to really.
He's not making any decisions.
He's not making decisions.
No.
He lets them do it. And
But he
just,
has put a
He's like the boss from The Office now. He just doesn't do anything.
But he's got a strong cabinet that should be, you delegate power and they take care of everything.
It's just, if I want to, just real quick on Bran, it's his character had a lot of potential once they made him the one-eyed raven, and they really just didn't do anything with it.
No.
I mean, the episode where the Winterfell one where he wargs into the ravens, like that just completely dropped. What are we doing? And if he was supposed to be, and I really believe George R.R. Martin intended for him to be king, because just from reading some of the cliff notes from the books, he's an important character in the books, and it would make sense. The kid that gets pushed out of the the well or whatever the fuck
in the first episode out the window,
the tower, it ends up being the king. Like that's a great story.
Almost killed the king way back then.
But one thing. Why take a season off with Bran then if he's going to be this important?
Yeah. The thing about Bran that really disturbs me is that he's not a person.
No, he's not.
He doesn't have anything that...
He's an exposition device.
He's not really a person. He doesn't really exist. He just doesn't even talk to people or deal with people. He's just kind of like a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's like you go from wanting to root for a good person to have the throne, and you're like, well, this guy's impartial. Yeah, because he's not really a person.
Yeah, he's just nothing.
So,
he
doesn't have any people skills. He doesn't really know anything about life.
I mean, he seems a little more adjusted, but
he just knows things because he's watching them.
Yeah. How about the fact that Vegas and the bookies had it right the whole fucking time with Bran as the top pick?
Yeah.
To get the throne. Somebody won some fucking money that way.
So a lot of the stuff was really subverted. Like Arya killing Cersei, that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Arya, then everyone's like, oh, Arya's going to kill Dany. That didn't happen. Jon going to kill the Night King. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Bran being the Night King. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
The Night King being anything of consequence. That didn't happen.
Yep. Good point.
There's a lot of like stuff that, had a lot riding on it.
This
didn't
is
happen.
where it gets into Lost territory, because Lost did this and it was annoying. They're like, oh, there's a fucking polar bear. Oh, that means nothing. Oh, what is this smoke monster? Oh, that's bullshit. And it's very dangerous that this show, which has been beloved by all for many years, heads into this territory as it tries to nail the ending.
Who was the prince that was promised?
Was the prophecy true? Who was Azor Ahai? What was
I think it was
Lord of the
Arya,
Light and all
but
that
I don't
bullshit?
know.
I thought it was
the eyes
Jon.
of green.
Yeah, what about the green eyes? I thought Jon was the prince that was promised. What the fuck
about
does that mean?
Story that gets told to Cersei as a little girl?
Oh, that a child, a small hands are going to choke her.
Right.
They were like saying that Tyrion was going to kill her.
Tyrion or her brother, maybe.
Or her brother. That didn't happen.
There's a lot of like weird things that they teased as being these big overarching stories that didn't get
I did love that Jon gets reunited with Ghost and they get to hang out and he got to pet him. They had enough CGI
they engineered
for that
too.
Yeah.
They engineered that moment. They have him snub the fucking wolf for no apparent reason, just to
so
have
he
this
could
moment.
pet him later. And then the most surprising thing, Anthony, I don't know if you noticed at the very end, the fucking Game of Thrones theme has words.
Oh, shit.
I didn't notice.
They were singing words to it. It was all about how they can't wait to write Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's what the song is about.
That's what I think I've heard you say this too, but my friend Erwin was like, I really think Disney was just like, hey, you got to get started on this Star Wars stuff ASAP.
I think the biggest, most egregious thing is them turning down the offer for 10 episode seasons from HBO. Now, let's just talk about kind of the whole thing overall. There was no way they were going to satisfy everyone.
Absolutely not.
I want to know.
But they could have.
They could have.
They could have cashed in on some of the things they set up.
They could have done better, for sure.
Do you think they stuck the landing?
No, we all agreed that it was meh.
I think that means they barely kind of stuck the landing.
I think they landed.
They landed, yes.
I don't think this was the best landing. I don't think
sticking the landing means like you land with both feet. No movement.
Okay, they landed and they stumbled. He took a step. Yes,
they stumbled, but they wasn't. But it wasn't a zero either, where they're like falling on their face.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, but it wasn't a 10-point landing where they didn't move once they landed.
I heard Lost was a bad landing, and like Dexter was a bad landing.
Dexter is huge. One of those. Some people out there saying Lost had a better ending than this. I do not agree.
No.
That is completely
No,
not
because
right.
it was good up until the very last season.
Yeah.
Like, Lost was bad, like, for a long time, and we just kept on hoping it was going to get better, and it never did.
So, a couple of questions for you guys. Did they actually break the wheel like they were discussing?
Well, what do you call the wheel?
Well, according to Daenerys, the wheel was this guy's on top, the spokes turn, now the next ruler is on top.
They did
now
break
the
the
next
wheel.
ruler is on top. Now Bran is just the next guy in the wheel.
No,
or
I
is
think
the wheel broken?
The wheel's broken because the wheel meant like
The kids.
you come in and the lineage, and you come in and you conquer, and then your lineage is now the ruling family
for however many decades or
so
empires.
they decided that every
Let's break
time
the wheel here.
let's have this meeting every time
So
we need to decide.
What happens when somebody wants to just come in and fuck with you? Everybody has to automatically step in?
They got to
Yeah.
fight. They got to protect the king
They gotta step in. I mean, it's pretty haphazard. The way
a little
they
bit.
come up with this is
Yeah.
it doesn't. It's weird that everyone disagrees right off the bat.
Yes. Very quickly.
Like, if they would have said, like, all right, who's going to be king? It would be an argument for, like, weeks, and they
Yeah.
would fucking go at each
A
other's
little
throats.
infighting would have been nice, but they don't have time for that.
No, they didn't have time.
No time. So the
I
Targaryen.
am surprised too that like you would have thought Sansa would have been like John should be the king,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like, isn't she the one that was like, well, he should be? I'm going to spread this rumor.
Yeah.
Why? But what? Yeah. What did that all entail? I mean, at this point, the Unsullied and Dothraki have him as a prisoner. The Unsullied do.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't. The Unsullied wouldn't have agreed to him being king.
No,
Fuck
of course not. They
I
wouldn't
think that
agree.
Jon Snow should have died.
Maybe
To make
yes.
this particular story work,
Yeah.
he should have died.
Instead of just being
Like,
banished.
like the Unsullied, it would have been cool if they would have had a trial by combat.
Yeah.
And then Grey Worm actually kills him.
Yeah.
And then this would work because they'd have no other choice. They wouldn't have the king that was promised to them that they heard about, and then they would have to come up with something else. But since he's alive, there should have been an all-out war for
Yeah,
him.
where's all the people chanting that he's the rightful heir? Where's
Yeah.
Team John's people? All the
I
fucking
think-
emails.
Because it doesn't matter that Jon Snow goes off into the wildlings. It doesn't mean anything. And then it would make more sense that Bran is the king because there's no other alternative. So it's just
Why?
weird.
That's the thing is, why did John go north? Like, I mean, we said those are his people. He never wanted any of this. I think he just wants to go away, and I don't know.
I don't know. I just think it's
Live
I just think it's very weird that, like, in order to be king or a leader, you have to never have kids. So that's me, so like, if you're going to be the king of the six kingdoms, you have to make this. Who's going to fucking take that shit seriously? Like, there's no birth control. Like, you can't fuck anybody.
They have to take
It's
a
not
vow.
realistic.
Was it a vow? There was something about a
They'll
vow of
take no
celibacy.
children.
Yeah,
I know. I thought they were talking about the Night King, or not the Night King, the Night's Watch.
No, they're talking
Well,
about.
John can't have children.
John can't.
because he's the Night's Watch now.
Well, he can, but he can't. Or
not
it doesn't
supposed
no,
to.
but
matter.
that's one of the reasons they had Bran is because you can't have kids.
Well, that was
No,
just
I think
to
they were.
force
No, they were.
them to
They,
choose.
I think what they were saying was, but what about his kids? And they're like, he can't have any. Like they were saying, like, well, what about after him? And
Yeah.
then they were just saying, matter of fact, like, well, he can't have kids.
His dick don't work.
What about the guy after him? What if he wants his kids to be? They not. I guess they.
I guess they don't.
They got to
do
vote
that.
on it. They got to
They
vote
gotta-
on it.
yeah.
It's got to be a unanimous decision now.
All right.
It's not just passed on like it's been in the past. You know what? There's a lot of great meta lines, like the lines of dialogue that were almost like the writers talking about the reaction to the show. One of them, to me, when Tyrion tells Jon, "Ask me again in 10 years," when he asked if killing Daenerys was right. I kind of feel like you can say the same thing about this show, this final season. Do you guys think this season, these last episodes, will hurt the legacy of the show in 10 years?
No, I mean, in a way it will because it's gonna have that stench on it.
Yeah.
That, like you're not gonna forget this like horrible feedback. I mean, we're talking about like Waterworld and how it was received when
Yeah.
we reviewed it.
Yeah.
So like the reception of what when it comes out still stays with it no matter what. Like even with when you talk about Lost, you still think about how shitty it ended. It dissuades people from watching it. You don't see like I just watched Lost for the first time. There's people watching like
I don't
all
think
these
it'll
other
hurt
shows.
it. I don't think it'll hurt it that much. Also, people will still be, discovering the show.
I think that it's a shame if you don't check it out.
Yeah.
Because it is great in so many ways, except for the end. So, and the end isn't terrible. It's just So,
Anthony, does it hurt the legacy?
For me, it doesn't, but I think it will be remembered as this great show that didn't stick the landing. I think the way these last 3-4 episodes have been received, it's almost that stench that it's been created on social media, I think will be remembered.
Do you think it's warranted though?
See, I don't, a little bit, but not as much as it's been. Like, it's still one of the best things on television.
It's blown out of proportion.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's a bit blown out of proportion, but I'm also, and I've been defending the show every week, but I agree now by the end of this that, like, just because, this show has been great and it's tough to write these things and they've made great television, it's not above criticism when it's necessary. And I think by the end of this, I've come around on the fact that the show was rushed.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a honest observation. I think that, I think that if you blindly, are an apologist for this, you're kind of like creating your own version of what's good and what good writing is and what a good show is. There's a whole group of people that think that you shouldn't criticize any kind of art. I had a whole Twitter battle with a guy. You should, whenever somebody creates something, you should just not criticize it.
No, there's something called constructive criticism you learn in art school.
What I disagree with is people petitioning to change it.
Yes, that's dumb.
Like, you don't just get what you want. You get what the writers want. And the writers want to make the show suck. It sucks. Okay. You just deal with it.
Yeah.
All right. It's not what you want.
This is the story they were always going to tell.
So I'm going to take whatever they did and go, okay, that's part of the experience of this show. And would it be cool to have been satisfied in every way?
Sure.
That's an impossibility.
Yeah. Which had the more satisfying finale for you guys, Game of Thrones or Avengers Endgame? I also agree. I think Endgame sticks the landing a little bit better, even though it's not the end.
It gives you, it gives you enough. It doesn't give you everything.
Yeah.
There's quite a few things that they don't give you, but
it gives you a lot.
The stuff that they gives you is so ultimately satisfying that you're willing to overlook a plethora of problems.
And just like you said, the Game of Thrones guys could have rewarded people who have been watching since the beginning with a little more care, a little more subtlety, a little more tact. But let's just end with this. I just read this really interesting article on Scientific American, and the guy, his reasoning why people are hating Game of Thrones now. And he basically says the beginning seasons that had source material, Game of Thrones was a sociological story, which is really hard to do. It did things that no other show did, which is you start with these characters, you get to trust these characters, and these characters are going to move the show forward, except in this show, they just fucking kill the characters that you think are going to be the main pieces. And it does it. It does it in the first season with Ned Stark. It does it again in the third season with Robb Stark.
So why does it work?
Well, because you ask yourself with these sociological situations, it's not the independent personalities. It's you putting yourself in every character's point of view and saying, what would I do? What would I do if I was faced with this decision? Now, when they ran out of book, this guy says when Weiss and Benioff and tried to end it, they took the Hollywood path where it turns into more of a psychological story and not a sociological story. George gave him an outline, and basically the story was there. The storytelling was not there because they ended up going Hollywood, just checking off boxes, doing this, showing this, no nuance, no subtlety. And part of it is because they didn't have enough time. But part of it is maybe they weren't as good writers as George R. R. Martin is with his original material.
I think that what happened is that when they first began the show, they had it wasn't really a pattern, but it was basically a trope where you would, as soon as a character would start to gain some kind of really advantage,
they'd take them out.
Obviously, like what happens in real life, setbacks occur. And then you have to regroup and figure out another way.
Again.
Yeah. So what happened was a lot of the pieces got taken off the board, and then the other people have to compensate.
Yeah.
So where Arya starts to become an instrumental person, where she was just a little girl and she grows in the passage of time.
Yeah.
You see her grow and become more of a Sansa, same thing. She goes through her thing and she becomes a formidable person. So after you've grown all these characters, now they refuse to kill them. And they refuse to pass it on. There's no one else to pass it on to.
They rely a lot on stunts in the last season as opposed to storytelling.
I have my thoughts on this. I can't really speak to the sociological and psychological aspects of it because I just don't fully understand that point yet. I'd have to read that article.
I'll put it in the show notes. It was a great article. Really long.
I think what hooked me on the show was the fact that for 6-7 seasons, the good guy doesn't always win.
Yeah.
And that's true to life. And the bad guys aren't always the worst people in the world either.
Yeah.
Jamie, even Cersei, as evil as she is, she still gives a fuck about her kids. She's really just there for her kids.
But on the other hand, Tyrion killed a fuckload of people too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's these shades of gray with everybody.
Yeah.
And what worked so well was that you cared for characters. At first you cared for characters, and then you hated them.
Yep.
And sometimes you hated them, and then you cared for them.
And
sometimes they were unredeemable, and now they're completely redeemed.
Yeah.
Like you had just all these aspects of how people would act in a war time, and how how human they are. And I think what happened is by the end there was just some sort of rush to end this story, and they lost a lot of the subtle nuance in.
They become
in character.
caricatures.
Yeah,
instead of characters,
it just became more about in the plot than more.
They're just devices.
Yeah.
It became more important to hit the notes rather than to care about the path to get to those notes.
I mean, you can almost see this outline that he gives them, and they just did the outline. They didn't bother filling anything in.
No.
Well, the thing is, to Benioff and Weiss's defense, and I read this today on The Ringer. There's an article about how far they've strayed from the books because the books are really fucking far. Like they've been having to do this without the books for a while now.
Okay,
but when they put this show out, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm pretty sure that I read that George R.R. Martin had told them the books would be done before this show ends.
Yes, that's probably what they were hoping.
He's been doing all sorts of other crazy shit. Who knows if he'll ever fucking finish the books?
Well, I think now
so they were under the impression that they would have a full outline,
right?
To reference.
Then they were like, "Fuck, you're not done yet, George."
Yeah, there was a few things that actually threw a monkey wrench into this, and that was one of them. That the guy who wrote the source material never finished it, and that there was this whole Star Wars offer on the table, and I think that everybody involved wanted to just not be on the show anymore.
I mean, they've been doing this for like 10 years. It was
going on too long, I guess, but they should have done. If I were working on the show and I would have been like, listen, and I really cared about the show and how it was going to be received for the rest of the time, I would have been like, listen, we got to do this right. We got to do it. How many episodes do we really need to do it? And let's go, let's make 13 episodes to really button this up really well. Let's do 13 episodes. They should have.
HBO would have given whatever they wanted. They wanted
absolutely.
6 fucking episodes so they could wrap this shit up.
I also think the point that I sent you guys about plotters and pantsers is, and I've read a lot of stuff on George R. R. Martin's writing, is that his writing does meander, in terms of just following a character and seeing where the hell it goes. So George didn't finish the books, and his writing, he writes in a way where it just goes forever.
Yeah.
So they didn't have really a way to go and be like, okay, now we gotta end this somehow.
They had to make a decision and end it.
And they decided to end it. And that's what happened.
Do you think, I'm wondering if George, having seen the reaction, if he actually adjusts and changes his ending once he actually writes it?
On one hand, he could just be like, well, this is it, and then now I'm off the hook.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, this is the best in terms of for George R.R. Martin. I mean, the books are now even more anticipated than ever, right?
Yeah, I think
everyone's going to be like, well, let's read these books and see what he would have done. He's going to do it the right way.
And in fact, I've heard a lot of people who watch the show are like, I got to read the books now. I need to see what the fuck is going on. So I think he's going to sell more books. And
do you think that they're going to? Let me ask you this question: what if in 10 years they do Game of Thrones, or they don't do? They do a Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
The trilogy, and each movie's 3 hours long.
Ooh, trilogy.
I don't see the reason why the show worked was the long form storytelling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Lord of the Rings kind of did it in 3-hour movies.
But by seeing the show, we just got the new path, the new way.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a better way.
Because you're always
we just saw it.
Yeah, you're going to compare it to this no matter what.
Well, I'm glad that they cleared this path because think about the ramifications of this show. All right. They have movie quality effects, cinematic quality actors, top notch wardrobe, set design. And now you have seasons where episodes are longer than an hour.
Yes. They broke new ground. Broke a lot of new ground.
And they're able now. I think the Russo brothers were talking about this as well, that they're like, why is everything confined to either a 2-hour movie,
right,
1.5 hour comedy, or a 1 hour TV show? Why can't we do something different?
Yeah, why can't it be as long as it needs to be?
And I think that like Sherlock Holmes was like the first thing to actually really do this. They did that 1.5 hour episodes, and they have like 3 episodes or 4 episodes, and that tells the entire story of the season.
Works well.
So I think that what if you would just get 2-hour movies and you get 3 of them a year, and that tells the chunk of the story.
I mean, they're kind of doing this with this Deadwood movie. They're coming back, giving you a 2-hour thing based on how good it is. I don't know if they give you more, but I'm down for trying different stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that. I love the Sherlock model.
Did you see Joe Not From Work sent me something?
Yeah.
So HBO is already working on the Game of Thrones prequel.
Right.
The working title, I don't know if this is official or not. Blood Moon.
Oh, Blood Moon.
And here's the synopsis.
Okay.
Taking place thousands of years ago before the events of Game of Thrones, the series chronicles the world's descent from the golden age of heroes into its darkest hours. From the horrifying secrets of Westeros' history to the true origin of the White Walkers, the mysteries of the East to the Starks of legend, only one thing is for sure, it's not the story we think we know.
Ooh. When is that
I don't know when
coming out? Like, they needed something. I don't think we're going to see that for a few years. Let me ask you guys this. Who's canceling their HBO subscription now?
I'm raising my hand.
Oh, shit. I'm going to keep mine because I want to watch Chernobyl and Deadwood and Watchmen.
I'm thinking about it.
But I know a lot of people, Lenny and Seth Morgan, I believe. Everyone is like, yep, I'm done. Click. There is a documentary next Sunday about making the final season on HBO.
I'll watch that.
I think I will watch that.
They busted their ass to make it. It's just sad that they didn't ask for more episodes to really make it work.
The VFX on the fucking Drogo were like amazing. Like
Dragon, you mean?
Yeah, well, Drogon. Sorry,
Drogon. Because Drogo is Cal Drogo.
Cal, right? But the dragon CGI, like this is the best I've ever seen it, and it got better.
It was great,
and it was fucking unbelievable. Amazing ending. I think we can end it there. I'm sure we will continue to talk about.
I'm sure this will be discussed for a while.
So let's just do a rating.
Okay.
Let's rate the individual season 8 and then the whole as a
TV series.
Yes.
All right, Ruggs, go first.
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I think this season was about a 6.
Okay.
It was barely above par.
Okay.
For what it set, the standard that it set itself.
Yeah.
I think overall the series though is like a 9.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been a perfect 10 if they would have nailed it.
Yeah.
And this season kind of just chopped it down a little bit.
Good numbers, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm with Ruggs. I think this season was barely above average, so 5.5, 6.
Wow. Yeah.
Overall, for the series, 9, 8.5, 9, 9.5, somewhere around there. I mean, almost the same scores.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm saying 6.5 to 7 for this season
good.
In general. Not the best season of the series, but still one of the better TV shows. Oh my God, yes. And I'm more, the experience watching it with the world was just so crazy. And you felt like you were part of this fucking crazy conversation week after week. But it's also been an amazing 6 weeks to go through this. And it's weird that it's over.
It's going to be, who knows what's on the horizon. It could be a year from now. It could be 10 years from now.
Yeah.
But, this is the last time for at least a little bit that we'll have this kind of experience with everybody.
I think you're right. This is the last of appointment television everybody watches at once.
It's all trending towards binging.
And fabricated streaming services and broken up things.
The binging really ruins this type of week-to-week conversation because everyone finishes at different times.
Yeah, you're gonna watch.
And the conversation, it's
about the whole thing at once.
Yeah, well, the conversation is different. It happens at different moments. It's not all at once.
Yeah. I think this thing, to sustain buzz, the week-to-week is very important.
Okay, last question before we go.
Okay,
what's next? What are we looking forward
You
to?
guys
Anything
know
catching
better
your
than me.
Well,
anything
the
catching your
Westworld Season 3 trailer was very interesting because it has Aaron Paul, it looks like Blade Runner, and it looks like a whole fucking different show.
Oh, shit.
It got me really intrigued. Did you see that, Ruggs? What did you think?
Westworld to me had so much potential.
Yeah.
And then, unlike Game of Thrones, the second season was like, I don't know if
But
I
this
like it
third
anymore.
season is wild. It doesn't even look like the same show.
So let's see what happens. I mean, it's
It's like
possible.
Future World or something.
It's possible that
Yeah.
it's going to be awesome. Like I'm pulling for it.
Yeah. I don't know if Watchmen, I will be watching Watchmen. I don't know if that's going to make a splash.
It doesn't really catch my,
Not yet. Maybe there's a better
it doesn't
trailer.
get my nuts in a twist.
No, well, maybe they haven't shown us the good
All
stuff.
I got to say is it took me 7 years to figure out that Game of Thrones was good, so I'm the wrong person to
Yes.
ask.
I think 7 years from now, Anthony will tell us what the next show is. But who knows what the landscape of TV and
Just
content
watch Battlestar Galactica.
is. We should. That's a great fucking show.
What was the show before this? I feel like Walking Dead had a lot of people
Walking
going
Dead,
for a long
it did
time.
in the beginning, and then they shit the
It
bed.
had people going for about
it was
6 or 7
Breaking Bad,
seasons.
Breaking
Walking
Bad
Dead.
was before this.
Yeah, this
and
was
then
Game of Thrones.
Sopranos did the same thing. This brought me
But
back to the
Sopranos is at this point 20 years old.
Yes, it's very
Yeah.
old. But I had the same feeling when that was on.
Sopranos was definitely appointment television.
Yes.
Everybody talked
and it was
about
kind of the same thing where you're rooting for characters who aren't morally black or white. These are sociopath mobsters who kill people, but you fucking love them.
And then, so after Sopranos was what?
Lost.
Was Lost. And then that flopped.
Yeah, that shit the bed. Breaking Bad was good for a while.
How big was The Wire? Was that big?
That one is it's not it's
Not as
become
big, okay.
bigger now, but it's
It
also
wasn't
a
big at the
similar
time.
thing where they kill main characters every season, kind of shifts to another focus. It's a very brainy, very heady, very
Yeah.
intricate,
So we
convoluted.
could say Sopranos, Lost, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, now Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Seems like the timeline.
And I'm always going to throw Battlestar Galactica
and
in there.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
All right, look, I saved all the housekeeping for the end of the show right here. Join our Facebook group. Join the conversation. It's called the Jock and Nerd Nation. It's closed. It's exclusive. It's just for you, listener. You can geek out. A shout out to Blake Braden, who put up all the spoiler threads for the last 6 weeks in the nation. Thank you so much.
Jock and Nerd.
So helpful because I didn't have to do shit. It just happened. Thank you, Blake. And also, if you want to support the show, get access to bonus content, join our fan club, jockandnerd.com/Patreon. It's like Jock and Nerd Plus, where you get early episodes, bonus content, and an extra RSS feed with a whole bunch of extra episodes in there. Ruggs, where can the listener find you online?
You can find me on Twitter arguing with people about how Game of Thrones ended at Really Rug Boy.
That's already
and it's going to
started.
continue for a while.
I've seen some of those tweets at Really Rug Boy on Twitter. Show
yeah, and I actually, turned the guy around.
There you
So
go.
it was
Look.
nice.
Go.
Ruggs is changing hearts and minds. The Ruggs the floppy, making a difference. Show notes can be found at jockandnerd.com/275. All the ways you can subscribe, get in touch, all the fun links. Subscribe wherever you listen. We are now on Pandora as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere there's media. We're there. Instagram at Jock and Nerd, Twitter at Jock and Nerdcast, and of course, share the show with a Game of Thrones fan, friend, or a fellow geek, a fellow jock, a fellow nerd. Tell your friends. Spread the empire of stupidity, and we'll take over the world just like Daenerys, only we won't burn it down. We will hug it and kiss it and love it. Thanks for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's a nerd.
We'll peep you next time.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
No, it's not. Bran is the king. No fucking democracy.
Yeah. No. We say we may.